Dear friends, today's topic of discussion is life cycle of polytrichum or polytrichum life cycle. Okay. Now, systematic position of the polytrichum. Division Bryophyta, class Bryopsida. This class is one of the largest class in Bryophyta. The common name of Bryopsida is the mosses. The bryophytes includes under the class Bryopsida, commonly called as the mosses. Okay, and or another name is the muci. Another name for Bryopsida is the muci. Then subclass Brydi, order Polytrichales, family Polytrichaceae, and genus Polytrichum. This is the systematic position of the Polytrichum. The point number 1, the genus Polytrichum with nearly 100 species is widely distributed in temperate and tropical regions of the world. There are near about 100 species of Polytrichum distributed temperate as well as the tropical region of the world. Okay. Second, the plants grow on a variety of habitats such as wet sandy banks of rivers and ponds, on branches of trees, under shade, on fully exposed rocks. Means point number second shows the habitat of Polytrichum, in which it can shows variety of habitats. It can grows on moist shady places, on sandy banks of rivers and ponds, on branches of trees, in shady conditions as well as fully exposed rocks. As bryophytes are moisture and shade loving plants, they are also required the shady and moist conditions for their growth. Point 3. They often form a green carpet on moist and shaded walls. They are grows in groups, clusters, or tufts. Due to their tuft growth, they form the green carpet on the moist as well as the shaded walls. Okay. Number 4. In India, the genus is represented by 5 species. In India, there are 5 species of Polytrichum. Polytrichum densifolium, Polytrichum juniperium, Polytrichum xanthophyllum, Polytrichum alpinum, and Polytrichum formosum. Okay, so these are the 5 commonly occurring species of Polytrichum in India. Then point number 5. These species are commonly found in the Himalayan ranges, and these 5 species are commonly occurs in the Himalayan ranges of the India. Okay. Then gametophyte external characteristics. Now you are very clear about what is meant by gametophyte. Gametophyte means gametophytic plant body. Gametangia producing plant body is called as the gametophytic plant body. Here photograph is given. This photograph shows both phases of the plant body. Gametophytic plant body means or gametophyte, and sporophytic plant body or sporophyte. Gametophytic plant body contains the vegetative structures generally, and that vegetative structures at maturity produces gametangia and theridium as well as the archegonium, male and female reproductive organs. When male and female reproductive organs produces male gametes sperms and female gametes egg, then fertilization takes place, zygotic condition is formed. Later on, the sporophytic structure is develops on the gametophytic plant body. Okay, so this is about the now this photograph shows gametophytic as well as the sporophytic structure of the Polytrichum. Okay, now the gametophytic plant body external characteristics. Point number 1. The gametophyte is differentiated into an underground rhizome and aerial erect leafy stems 20 centimeter or more tall. Okay. The plant body contains, one is the underground rhizome. That rhizome produces the aerial erect stem, which is further covered by spirally arranged, or which is further covered by the leaves. Leaves are further covered to the stem, and that axis or stem height is majority 20 or near about 20 centimeter or more than 20. Okay. Point second, rhizoids are produced by the rhizome. That underground rhizome produces the rhizoids. These are long. Rhizoids are long, thick-walled. Their wall is thick with oblique septa. And these rhizoids having the oblique septum, so that these rhizoids are multicellular structures. Okay. The rhizoids coil round one another to form a rope-like structure. In case of Polytrichum, these multicellular branched rhizoids, long rhizoids are coiled one another so that they form the rope-like structure. As you know that the function of rhizoids, the first function is the anchorage. They attach to the substratum so that they can give the mechanical support to the aerial plant body. And another important function is that absorption of water and minerals from the substratum. Point third, the leaves on rhizome are arranged in three vertical rows. The leaves on rhizome are arranged in three vertical rows, and these are either brown in color or colorless. Okay, the leaves are arranged on the rhizome, they are colorless or brown in color. Okay, whereas the leaves on the aerial leafy shoot are green. The leaves on the aerial shoot, they are green in color and they are large and spirally arranged. The leaves on the main axis, they are typically green. They are large and spirally arranged on the main axis or shoot or the stem. Number 4. Each leaf possesses a broad, colorless, membranous, one-celled sheathing leaf base that narrows above into a lanceolate limb. Okay, the leaf is the broad, okay, then membranous, then one-celled sheathing leaf base and narrows at the above. Okay, so this is the very simple structure of the leaf. The margins of the wings, two wings of the leaf. Okay, at the center midrib is there and toward the both sides the wings are there. The margins of the wings are coarsely toothed. Coarsely toothed म्हणजे असे दातेरे असल्यासारखे, दात्रे असल्यासारखे मार्जिनला. The margins of the wings are coarsely toothed. The leaf has a dark green midrib, and at the center of the leaf there is a dark green midrib. So this is the external appearance of the gametophytic plant body of the polytrichum. Now the anatomy of the gametophytic plant body. First point is anatomy or internal structure of the axis, internal structure of the stem, internal structure of the shoot. काही म्हणा, सगळ्याचा अर्थ एकच आहे. Point number 1. The outline of the section is irregular due to attachment of leaves. You see in the diagram or photograph, the outline of the section is the irregular due to attachment, spirally arranged leaves on the outer epidermis of the stem. स्टेमच्या आउटर एपिडर्मिसला ल्यूज अटॅचड असल्यामुळं तर त्याची आउटलाईन कशी दिसते आपल्याला, इरेग्युलर दिसते. पॉइंट नंबर सेकंड, द टिश्यूज shows outermost superficial layer followed by cortex, pericycle, leptomantle, hydrome sheath, hydrome mantle and hydrome cylinder. So these are the parts of the anatomy of the or internal structure of the axis. Point number 3. The superficial layer does not form a clearly defined epidermis. The clearly defined epidermis cannot shown by the cannot shown by the axis. Okay. Number 4. The cortex is divisible into outer and inner cortex. Cortex further divided into outer cortex and inner cortex. And what is the function of cortex? Storage of food material. The outer cortex is compact. Outer cortex is compact, elongated prosenkymatous cells, gradually merging into parenchymatous cells. Okay, and which form the inner cortex. Lip traces are quite common in the cortex. Here, point number 4 state that the cortex is divisible into outer cortex and inner cortex. Outer cortex cells are compact and elongated, and the inner cortex is parenchymatous. Okay, and lip traces means what? That is the internal attachment of the leaves, that is called as the lip traces. Okay, the attachment of leaves, that is the vascular connection or attachment of the vascular connection. Number 5. Following the cortex is present the rudimentary pericycle. Rudimentary means undeveloped, in very primary conditioned. Okay, following the cortex is the present the rudimentary pericycle, and pericycle always separates outer extrastellar region and inner stellar region from each other in higher plants. Like here, pericycle is present. Okay, pericycle separates outer cortex and inner stellar region. Number 6. The inner to pericycle, the leptome mantle. The cells inner to pericycle is the leptome mantle. Inner the pericycle, leptome mantle is present. The cells of which are typically sieve tube-like. The cells of leptome mantle is typically sieve tube-like. Sieve tubes means what? This is the one of the element of the phloem. Phloem having the 4 elements: sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma, and phloem sclerenchyma. And from that four phloem elements, one phloem elements, sieve tube-like cells are present in the leptome mantle. The leptome mantle is regarded as equivalent to the phloem of vascular plants. And due to sieve tube-like cells, this leptome mantle considered as phloem-like tissue. Okay. Number 7. Internal to the leptome mantle is the hydrome sheath, that is amylum layer. Amylum starch is the reserve of food present in the polytrichum. Okay, internal to the leptome mantle is the hydrome sheath, amylum layer, composed of one or two layers of cells with prominent starch. So this leptome mantle, internal to leptome mantle is the hydrome sheath, and this hydrome sheath store the food material in the form of starch. Number 8. Immediately following the hydrome sheath is hydrome mantle, which is composed of hydromes. Okay, which is composed of the hydrome mantle, which is composed of thin-walled cells without contents. Okay, so here the cells present in the inner side, they are composed of thin-walled. Okay, number 9. The center of the axis is occupied by the hydrome cylinder. At the center, the axis is occupied by hydrome cylinder with thick-walled cells, and central axis occupied by the hydrome cylinder with thick-walled cells. So in this way, this is the internal organization of the axis of the polytrichum. See, the epidermis is uh, irregular. Then inner the epidermis is cortex, further divided as a outer cortex, inner cortex. Inner cortex, inside the cortex there is a leptomental, then hydrome sheath is there, then pericycle is there, then hydromantle is there, and at the center there is a central cylinder, that is the hydrome cylinder. Okay, and many leaf traces are occurs in the cortex region. Now the next aspect is the anatomy of the leaf. Okay, anatomy of the leaf, point number 1. The section shows several cells thick midrib that gradually merge into rudimentary wings, which are made up of hyaline cells. Okay, the section shows several celled thick midrib. At the center there is a thick midrib. Thick midrib means midrib is made by thick walled cells. Gradually merges into rudimentary wings. Rudimentary means again undeveloped or develops in very primary conditions. Okay, then so see in the diagram, wing is given toward the wing is given toward the outer or margin of the leaves. Okay, number 2, on the lower side of the cuticularized epidermis, just inside the epidermis, one or two layers of small sclerenchymatous elongated cells. Below inner side of the lower side of the epidermis, just below the epidermis, one or two layers of small sclerenchymatous cells or sclerenchymatous patches are there. You see in the diagram, the thick walled cells are nothing but the sclerenchymatous cells. As sclerenchyma is a mechanical tissue, it is a thick walled tissue, so there is a layer of sclerenchymatous, means this layer gives the rigidity, strongness to the leaf. Okay, point number 3. The central tissue of the leaf is made up of large parenchymatous cells. The central tissue of the leaf is made up of large parenchymatous cells. Scattered among the parenchymatous cells are some group of sclerenchymatous cells. Okay, the main portion of the leaf is majority occupied by the parenchymatous cells, and these parenchymatous cells again having the group of or patches of sclerenchymatous cells. Okay, parenchyma simple thin-walled tissue, storage tissue, and sclerenchyma thick-walled mechanical tissue. Number 4. On the upper surface means upper surface of leaf. On the upper surface, there is a layer of large cells from which arise many parallel plates known as lamellae. You see in the diagram toward the upper side of the leaf, many parallelly arranged plate-like cells are there, filaments are there. That plate-like filaments, parallelly arranged filaments are called as the lamellae. Okay, so upper side of the leaf there are the lamellae. Number 5. Each lamella is uniseriate, uniseriate means made by single row of the cell. Each lamella is uniseriate and is composed of 5 to 8 cells, and each lamella contains 5 to 8 number of cells. Each cell contains chlorophyll. So each cell contains the chlorophyll, means these lamellae are involved in the photosynthesis. The terminal cell of the each lamella is wider or papillose. You see in the diagram the terminal cell, the uppermost cell of each lamella is the wider. The terminal cells of the adjacent lamellae almost touch each other. So the apical cell or terminal cell is the wider, and they are almost touch to each others. Okay. Number 6. The lamella or the chief The lamella are the chief photosynthetic tissue of the leaf and compensate for the reduced wing. Okay, and these lamella are the major source of photosynthesis, and it causes the photosynthesis, and major photosynthesis is done by the these leaves of the polytrichum. So in this way we can stop here. In next lecture we will focusing on the vegetative reproduction, sexual reproduction, fertilization, post fertilization changes, sporophytic structure, and alternation of generation in the polytrichum. Okay, in this lecture we have studied the systematic position of the polytrichum, then number of species in the world, number of species in the India, most common species in the India, then occurrence of the polytrichum, then morphology of the gametophytic plant body, then anatomy of the axis and anatomy of the leaf. Okay, in this way we can stop here. Thank you.